My name is Grazelle. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, 10 years of clinical experience total, born and raised in the Philippines. I've only been here in the States for a little over 6 years now. A disclaimer before we start, I'm not an expert about immigration or the ins and outs of the process of how Filipino PTs can come and work here in the United States. My purpose of doing this video is to share my personal experience and have it on record. And maybe someone out there in the World Wide Web could benefit from this. So basically, I was able to come here in the US with the help of a healthcare staffing agency. I used Avant Healthcare Professionals, and this is not sponsored by them, but I had a good experience with them. The things they required from me when I applied to them were pretty much the same as with all the other staffing agencies like MedPro, Grandison. Those are the only ones I can remember on top of my head right now. So the first thing, you had to have a bachelor's degree in physical therapy, obviously. My program was 5 years. I graduated in 2013. A year later, I took and passed the Philippine Licensure Exam for PTs. I made 2 videos on how I prepared for the PT board exam in the Philippines. It's up here if you want to check it out. After that, I started working to gain experience. My first job as a new grad was at an outpatient PT clinic. You want to know how much I made? 340 pesos per day. In US dollars, that's around $6 per day. 5 years of school, and I was paid minimum wage. My second job was a little bit better. It was 380 pesos per day. So a little over $7. Then my college dean invited me to come teach at the university as a part-time faculty. I really enjoyed that job, and the pay was so much better. I was able to pay the bills. This was how I started to know about Avant, the staffing agency. 2 of my fellow teachers in our college also went with the same agency, so I followed along. The next thing I did was take the TOEFL, Test of English as Foreign Language. This exam tests for your skills in reading, listening, writing, and speaking. The highest possible score is 120. That's 30 points for each category. I think my PT friends would agree. The most challenging one is speaking because you need to score 26 out of 30 for that one. In the midst of all that, I went back to school for 1 semester to get additional credits for differential diagnosis, delegation, and cultural competency. I didn't have those courses during my undergrad, and they were required for the next step, which is credentialing. I used FCCPT to have my credentials evaluated so I would be qualified to sit for the PT licensure exam here in the US. I gave them my transcript and all of that. The agency paid for it. FCCPT then sent me a report saying that my credentials is equivalent to a US master's degree in physical therapy. That was called CWT5 during my time. 1 month later, after I got the report, the requirement changed to CWT6, where you need to have an actual master's degree and credentials equivalent to a US doctor of physical therapy. So, that was close. With my credentialing done, I registered for the National Physical Therapy Exam, or NPTE. The agency provided me classes and materials to study. I also did a lot of studying and practice exams on my own. And in that time, I also went to Manila to get my US tourist visa. After that, the agency helped me in scheduling my NPTE with Prometric. This is a company that administers the test. I flew to Florida, plane ticket and hotel paid for by the agency. I was with a group of examinees from different countries, India, South Africa, Philippines, and there was probably like 20 of us. I was responsible for my own food. I was living on microwavables and takeouts. We had a kitchen in the hotel room, but I didn't know how to cook back then. We were there for like 3 weeks, if I remember it right. The first 2 weeks we had review classes and practice exams together. And then on the 3rd week, we went to the Prometric Center in Tampa, Florida with the group. and then flew back home the next day. So a week later, I found that I passed the NPTE. My employer, Avant, then applied me for an H-1B visa, which is also called a working visa. And my husband got H-4. We then waited for close to a year before we could be scheduled for the visa interview at the U.S. consulate in Manila. My husband and I were interviewed together, and we got approved. Then we moved to the USA. That was the whole process of what I went through. Of course, there's probably a lot of details that I left out or just forgot to mention. But if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. In the meantime, you might want to watch this video of how I became a board exam top notcher in the Philippines. See you there. If anyone asks me again, then I can just show them this video.